What is my most controversial video? Bish lasagna? Bridge? Nope. It's why I don't like Marvel movies. Let's look at this video. This is the worst dislike ratio I have on any.
Last but not least, in Infinity War, apparently a big deal of the movie is that a lot of superheroes die. I'm not going to spoil which ones or anything like that, but let's just entertain the idea that, let's say, Iron Man dies.
Let's say Iron Man dies. Marvel, write that down. Haha, good one, Felix. I like how my main criticism of the Marvel films was that no one actually dies. I was proven wrong. To be honest, I never watched Endgame or any of the last films, and when I flew recently from Japan to UK, my computer was in charge. I had no choice but to watch what was offered, and it was all Avengers, of course, and which is one of the reasons I didn't like Marvel, because it's literally everywhere. Ironically, but I watched it and I actually enjoyed it for the first time. Please don't dislike this video. I love Marvel, okay? This is not the point. And I realized the reason why I liked it so much was because I finally liked one of its heroes, Thanos. That's right, Thanos is epic and also very sexy. I realized that there's already 100 videos at least about the philosophy of Thanos and why was Thanos right? Population. Well, I would argue that Thanos was actually better than all of us. Here's why. Well, first of all, was Thanos right? To understand that, you must understand what is right. See, I have glasses on now. What is right? Think about it. Why do it's such a smug question. Don't think too hard. This is not I'm 14 and this is D. I'm waiting. Right is, in most senses, and you could call an ethical system to bring wellness to something, a community or yourself. And sometimes making the right choice will lead to unethical actions. Like, say, wiping off half the universe.
Well done.
The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who I've spoken about before on my channel, calls this concept in the book of Fear and Trembling the theological suspension of the ethical. Telos means goal in Greek, and it basically means putting aside what is right or what is technically good to do in hope for something greater. If you buy G Fuel, enter the code PewDiePie to become epically energized and thirst quenched, you made a theological decision. Thanos believed that wiping out half the universe would make it so that life would actually be able to continue and thrive and become better and not just cease to exist. I think that's the consensus. I don't really remember.
This universe is finite, its resource is finite. If life is left unchecked, life will cease to exist. It needs correction.
You don't know that!
I'm the only one who knows that.
But his goal is for things to turn out well, and he doesn't take pleasure in the killing, which I think is an important distinction of him being good or right. And that's the important distinction of why he's likable. He's a tragic hero. This makes Thanos what Søren Kierkegaard would call a knight of infinite resignation. And so what is that then? Well, Kierkegaard defined life in 3 different stages, and I've spoken about this on my channel before, but the first one, where most of us is in the aesthetic. We're sort of trapped here. We're focusing purely on our senses. We try and maximize them as much as possible to feel as good as possible. We don't live for one single thing, but many different things. And I think most people can relate to that. We make these choices based on what will make us happy. So how do you get out of the aesthetic? Well, you move on to the ethical. And to put it very simple, it's basically living for others or another purpose beyond your senses. And it's here where the Night of Infinite Resignation can exist. Just because it's called a knight doesn't mean it has to be a man, it could be any. But I also believe Kierkegaard calls it a knight to symbolize someone very strong and chivalrous and tough. You would have to be to make these sort of decisions that a Night of Infinite Resignation has to make. When Kierkegaard talks about the infinite, he's talking about what you love. And that is what defines your entire worldview. A quote from the book is, "So for the first thing, the knight will have power to concentrate the whole content of life and the whole significance of reality in one single wish. The Night of Infinite Resignation resigns just that, everything for this wish." And Thanos did this. He put everything aside to reach this goal, to reach this wish. A hero is typically defined by what they love. What do you love? Have you ever made a decision on something that you sacrifice for the greater good? Maybe you've given up on a dream to pursue happiness for someone else. By understanding what we love, we open up ourselves to become more vulnerable, and this is something that's very hard to do. But a Night of Infinite Resignation also understands that the world is finite. The world doesn't always fall into the right place. Sometimes you will not always win. There's a limit to each and every one of our capacities, and no matter how hard we try. Let's say you have all these mean superheroes who manages to frickin' turn back time to stop you, Jesus.
Time travel! What? I see this as an absolute win.
Let's say they didn't snap Thanos back. Sorry, spoilers. Would Thanos given up at this point? I don't think so. And this is what Kierkegaard calls for when you reach your capacity of your limit, you must then turn inward. And here you can keep your love, he says, as young as the day you had it. And it lives on spiritually infinite. This of course would be very painful, but you can reconcile in its spiritually infinite existence. I think it's really interesting with Kierkegaard is that he himself gave up his love of his life, Regina Olsen, to pursue his writing. Another sacrifice. And I think that's probably why he came up with this whole idea. But I think that's what makes him so interesting, because he truly lived his ideas. I criticized Kierkegaard in a previous video because he explained everything previously in this book, Either Or, with such perfect rationale for hundreds of pages, and when he talks about the aesthetic and when he talks about the ethic. But when he talked about the third stage, the religion, rationale was just completely thrown out the window. And to me, whenever discussing religion, it has always just seemed to me like blind acceptance and blind following, and it seemed like he wanted you to do the same thing. But it's clear that I didn't understand Kierkegaard, because that's not what he wanted at all. If anything, he was strongly against that. He was strongly against blind acceptance. It's part of the reason why he criticized Christianity at the time, because people had just accepted becoming Christians, and it wasn't something that he thought people actually practiced. Even if you're not religious, you still probably blindly accept a lot of ideas. That's not to say that everyone religious blindly accept ideas, but you understand what I mean. We protect ourselves from ideas because some of them would change our worldview if we accepted them. Some ideas will never fully get pondered, and therefore we will never find our infinite. Is it a coincidence that it's called Marvel Infinity War? I don't think so. This whole connection with Marvel is so cringy, but I tricked you into listening philosophy epically. You know, my final message is this, and it's the same as Kierkegaard's. You have to practice your ideas. You can't just buy Ninja's Guide to how to become a pro gamer and then become a pro gamer. You must practice. I'm 14 and this is PewDiePie. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit random, I understand. I really enjoyed Kierkegaard's Fear and Trembling. It's a great book. I kind of feel like I've jumped a bit back and forth too much with philosophy, but it's something that I enjoy reading and something I enjoy sharing, so I hope you guys enjoyed as well. I made a theological sacrifice for you to hopefully enjoy this video, because it's not gonna get any views. buy the figurine. Bye bye.